Hello. So as with essays, with seminars or pretty much anything, we need to make sure that we've planned effectively. We need to plan before we start making our PowerPoint presentations, before we start writing reports, just to make sure that we're getting everything in a nice logical order. Fortunately, you've got me, who would be very happy to go through a few drafts with you, just so you've got that plan perfect, and then you can move on to creating your PowerPoint presentation and also creating your speech. So this is the document that you should have in front of you today. So first we're going to write into our seminar title, or what the title is, what your main focus is going to be. For instance, it might be family business or it might be hypoxia. Don't worry about resources. The aim is the same as what we did in the last class when I talked about what you want your audience to walk away with. Okay, so what you want your audience to be thinking, feeling, or to know at the end of your presentation. Next, I'd like you to get your research helper out, as well as maybe your essay plan, for instance, because that's going to have a nice logical order to start off with. Think about what you want to start with. Now, obviously, your beginning is going to be starting with your introduction. So what part? What do you want to do in your introduction? Okay, so you might start with an anecdote about maybe my father wanting my brother to become a farmer. My brother didn't want to become a farmer, equals issue in family business. Okay, so I might use an anecdote to get the interest of my audience. In the resource that I'm going to use my PPT. I'm going to have a picture of my father, grandfather, and also my great-grandfather, just to show the importance, or how big it was, how important that was. Timings, I've only got 7 minutes for this, or 7 to 10 minutes for this whole presentation. So I really only want that to be about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes. And then you're going to be doing it for the rest of the section. So you might be talking about do definition next, or you might do context next, so on and so forth. And just write down your talking points, this, then that, then this. And the same as with your plans for your essays. It doesn't mean anecdote and then leave it there. I want the specific details so that you know what the specific details are. Resources, if you're going to use a video, if you're going to use music, if you'd like to find an image about a particular thing, if you're going to use a rhetorical question, or an activity, or you even use a handout. So what resources are you going to use, and then what timing? So how much you might want that to be 2 minutes, and that one to be 1 minute, or another 2 minutes. Sorry, I've just written the wrong word. 2 minutes. Okay, so you're going to be going through and completing this. And again, have a look back at the details for the presentation that I've sent you in the past. Make sure that the timing, you're going to have enough time for each of your points, or that you've got enough information to make up that time. Conclusion, as we said in the last class, do think about the conclusion. What do you want to finish your audience with? How are you going to make that interesting? And then finally, question time. So question time you might allocate, so there's I think 5 minutes of question time off the top of my head. I think they might have some questions for you. So have a think about what they might ask, so that you can prepare yourself for it. But sometimes the audience are a bit shy and they might not have any questions or feel too shy to ask them for you. So here is an opportunity for you to write a couple of questions to get them to be discussing those as well. Okay, so this should take you a good 25 minutes to half an hour to really think about what would be the most logical order. Go back to the document we looked about how to make an interesting presentation and see what you can input from there. Have a look at your note taker document from when we watched the 2 TED Talks, and make notes about where can I put those type of skills? What sort of things can I use that I've taken from those TED Talks to input into my presentation to make it effective and interesting? And again, simple things like making sure that you've got enough timing. Resources could also be something like a graph, statistics, a diagram, or even a prop. Okay, so do again, think outside of the box. What sort of resources could I use in each of these parts? You don't need to use a resource for all of them, but when you're trying to make a really big point, that might be really useful and relevant. Okay, so that's the first thing that you need to do. The second is to start doing what we call storyboarding. And I know that you've done this, I hope that you've done this with Mayuri in your computer class. If not, simply a storyboard is putting everything in order. And what we're doing now is thinking about how we want to put our PPT or a presentation together. So each of these square boxes is a slide. And down here, we've just got some areas for you to make notes. I've only given you 6 on this page, but do feel free to ask your teacher if you'd like a photocopy, or even just get a pen and a ruler and a page and draw some more squares yourself. 6 are not going to be enough for the amount of information you're going to be putting in this presentation. So in the presentation, so in these boxes, you might decide that you're going to draw a couple of things. So this is a mountain because I'm going to talk about global warming, and that was supposed to be blue. Anyway, so you might have a mountain, and then you might have someone walking up the mountain. They're very tired, up the mountain. And then I'm going to write about what I'm going to say about these things. You know, sometimes the mountain seems like it's very difficult to climb, so on and so forth. Okay, so you can do images, or you could even do dot points here if you want and write some words and make notes down here. As I said, go through what you've created here so you can start visualizing how you want your PowerPoint to look. Okay, this means that we don't go in and we just don't do things off a whim. It also slows the process down to make sure that you're putting as maximum effort into this as possible. Really need to work through, think through, so that you're confident in your presentation skills and confident in how you're actually, in the fact that you're making an effective presentation and getting the highest mark possible. Okay, so that's all I would like you to do for this class. It is due later in the week. I will put that through on WeChat. Thank you for listening. As always, send me a message if you're confused and not sure of anything. I'm happy to go through 2 or 3 drafts of this, so if you want to write it and then send it to me, I can give you some individual feedback, do some changes, send it to me, individual feedback, and that means when we get to do your PowerPoints and your speeches, they're going to be effective, interesting, and really, really easy to write. If you have a good plan, everything else is so much easier. All right, thanks very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next class.